Okay, we're live streaming now, and I'll turn the meeting back over to you, Mayor Eady.
Thank you. First of all, good evening, everyone. Hope all is well. We certainly get some nice weather. We'll call the meeting to order. And we'll ask, first of all, the calling of the roll.
Thank you. Mayor Eady?
Present.
Reeve Eamon?
Present.
Councillor Koulis? Councillor Evans?
Present.
Councillor Hines? Councillor Jemison?
Present.
And Councillor Sidney.
Present.
We have a quorum, Mayor Eady.
Okay, thank you. A declaration of pecuniary interest and the general nature thereof.
7:02.
Not hearing any. I see Councillor Koulis has just joined us. So I think we have a full quorum. Okay, the first motion being the Robert Pelche, Jane Conley, the Bed Trendlinger, representatives of the Renfrew Tennis Club, be heard before council, present a cost sharing and operational arrangement proposal. Mover, please. Councillor Evans, second by Councillor Koulis. I'll turn it over to, I presume, Jane, you're giving the presentation.
We are sharing, so we are here together.
So that you just go ahead.
Mayor Eady, Rive Iman, considers, thank you for agreeing to see us this evening. In 1976, we were playing tennis at RCI parking lot. And a delegation decided, well, maybe it's time to improve our tennis facility. And Eldon Ferguson was instrumental in building the courts at Mattaway. The town at that time paid 25%. The remaining costs were shared by grants, Lions Club, and the Renfrew Tennis Club. So about 25% each. We had our meeting last week, and the members told us that our presentation that we made on the 4th of October should be represented because we feel it's very fair to the tennis club and it's very fair to the town. Upon the opening of the new courts, Renfrew Tennis Club.
I have no sound. Okay.
Sorry about that. Just carry on, Mr. Pelche.
Thank you. So we make a one-time contribution of $10,000 to the town of Renfrew. The following year, the adult membership rate will increase by $10, continuing $10 increment for the next 2 years. So in the third year, with 150 adult members, we will give the town $4,500. $85 of the annual adult membership fee will be retained by the Renfrew Tennis Club to operate and maintain the club and the courts. The remainder will go to the town of Renfrew as a reserve for future court resurfacing. Let's not forget, it's going to be $4,500 per year. If we go 10 years, that's $45,000. If we go 20 years, that's $90,000. All court fees generated from public use by non-members will be turned over to the town each year. Now, I would like to have a chance to ask a question to Mr. Sidney, or maybe I'll wait till the end. Jane is going to make a presentation, and then Ben Treadlinger will make a presentation, and I will come back with a question for Mr. Sidney.
Now, can I share my screen? Is that a possibility?
Yeah, just give us one moment, Jane. We'll have you screen shared in a second.
All right, that's great.
You should be able to put it up now.
Hopefully I can do this. So this is, let me see now.
Now, if it's easier, Jane, I think you have sent us the documentation. We can also put it up on our end if that's easier.
Okay, I think I have it up here now, so I think I'm okay. I'm just going to enlarge it a little bit. I think. Okay, so is that visible to everybody?
It's not real big, but I think we can see it.
Okay, so it basically, it's just, it's the Recreation Department's vision statement. And it comes from the actual master plan for recreation, which was done in 2010. So the Recreation Department's vision statement says, the town of Renfrew will provide affordable recreation opportunities that aim to maximize participation and contribute to a healthier community in order to achieve the greatest public good and benefit to all residents. And its mission statement is very similar, which is below this. For 40 years, our club has successfully managed to operate our courts on an almost zero cost basis for the mutual benefit of the town and our community. We'd like to continue this partnership as we believe it aligns with both the vision and mission statements of the department, as well as the service objectives outlined in the master plan for parks, recreation, and culture. We believe very strongly as a club that our courts should be accessible to the widest number of people. In the last reported census figures, the town of Renfrew had the dubious distinction of having the highest child poverty rate in the county. 33% of children under 18 live in a low-income household. By keeping our rates low and providing free lessons as part of our junior membership, we are providing access to a sport with very minimal equipment costs. We even provide rackets for kids to use during the lessons. We charge membership fees that we feel are affordable to all our members, not just a chosen few. Affordability is a key to our very active club, and this affordability is only possible because of the dedication and countless hours put in by our hardworking volunteers. The Recreation Department's rationale for changing our cost sharing agreement is that, I'm just going to let Ben speak for a little bit about what our members actually contribute.
Okay, so we have a very active membership. Right now we have 244 members, ranging in age from 4 years of age to 90 years of age. We operate a doubles league, which has 38 teams, 76 members basically, a singles league, which is close to 40 participants, a morning group, mostly of seniors who play 3 to 4 times a week and welcome all skill levels. In addition, junior lessons are provided free of charge with a membership twice a week for 6 weeks in July and August. Anywhere from 40 to 60 young members come out to these lessons. Our volunteers run regular tournaments, again, open to anyone, and various events during the year. These activities have been curtailed somewhat because of COVID, but by developing excellent protocols, we've managed to keep the club active and running over the last 2 years. We also wish to point out that our volunteers look after all courts, maintenance, crack repairs, putting up and taking down of the nets, etc., and even the building of our chalet and storage building was done by the membership and volunteers. There are 12 to 14 executive members that have regular meetings about the tennis club, and it all contributes. They all contribute. So it's a large group of people, not just a core group of 3 or 4. So in conclusion, no other tennis club in the area and probably in Ontario provides this level of service and has this level of participation and engagement from its members. This is to be celebrated and is a unique asset to the town and its people. The club has participated in the creation of the courts and has made significant financial contributions to every major repair, be it the original courts or resurfacing. The town has contributed as well, but right now, tennis is fully paid for with no debt to the town. This is in large part due to the dedication and hard work of the members of Renfrew Tennis Club.
So, just going back, the rec department's rationale for changing our cost sharing agreement is that it is not the same as other Mattaway Park users, minor hockey, minor baseball, etc. We feel that that reasoning is flawed. Tennis courts, by their very nature, are different from these other groups. First of all, we cover all our operating costs ourselves. The only costs the town has contributed in our 40-year history at Mattaway are basically capital costs. Approximately 25% of the initial build in 81, a rebuild in 2005 to which the club also contributed, and a 1/3 share of the resurfacing costs in 2017. By our best estimates, these costs would have been $20,000 to $22,000 in 81, $70,000 to $80,000 in 2005, and $8,000 in 2017. So for the town, perhaps $110,000 in 40 years. If you amortize that over that period, that would be about $2,750 a year. Those are pretty minimal capital costs for such a well-run and well-maintained facility. Now I'm putting up this thing, which I'm hoping you'll be able to read. So this chart actually came from the document that I had mentioned before, the Town of Renfrew Master Plan for Parks, Recreation, and Culture. This was the actual rec department's operating budget in 2009. And I think it's a good example of why the tennis club actually should have different treatment. At that time, the town had a net cost for its recreational services of $911,000. As you can see, if you look at this chart, there is no line item for tennis. Why? Because we have always covered our own costs, except for the aforementioned resurfacing costs. And even then, the town only paid a portion. We've compared our rates and agreement with many other municipalities, and I think you've all gotten copies of those particular rate comparisons. We know that we are completely in line with our rates and that most other clubs throughout the valley and indeed throughout the province also have similar operating agreements. As mentioned, our courts were resurfaced only 4 years ago. We didn't ask for new courts, and we feel that it is an unfair burden to our club to ask us to make huge commitments to replace what we already had, which essentially seems to be the case here. In some respects, it appears that providing affordable recreation for all has become secondary to revenue generation for the Department of Recreation. We truly hope that is not the case and that you will support our proposal. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, and I'm just going, Ben's going to just finish off with one other little thing here.
So last night, for the first time, we saw the report that is going to you today, and we have some comments on those reports. First of all, we'd like to say that we were somewhat pleased with new numbers as they were different from what was discussed with us when we had the delegation on October the 4th.
Yeah.
So there is some movement,
To stop.
and we were pleased with that. However, we still have some concerns with what was in there. The first concern we see in the proposal that you want to revisit the agreement on an annual basis. The club feels the agreement should be at least for 5 years before review and even longer if possible. We do not want to go through this debate every year. The second concern we have is we don't see a family rate. The club has 37 families registered, and that is unique in organized sports in Renfrew. No family has a mom and a dad and kids participating in hockey, soccer, or baseball, but this is a common thing with the Renfrew Tennis Club. It means that parents who might not necessarily be tennis players can come out and rally with their young kids. To encourage such participation, we have always set a family rate equal to the price of 2 adult members. Under the rec department's proposal, that it currently stands, a family with 3 children would have to pay $355 for their membership, and even more if their children were of intermediate age. This year, under our rates, they would have paid $170. So this is a huge increase for families. The third concern we have is we notice that construction of the new courts will begin shortly and even immediately. That is fine, but we wonder why the destruction of the courts have to start immediately. Ideally, we'd like to be able to play for a few more weeks while the weather is good, particularly as we have lost some of the season to COVID and got off to a late start. Thank you.
Just to interrupt, sorry, Ben, he's done screen sharing yet? I noticed,
Yeah, I think, yes. I was just going to show you some things that we had just pointed out that we did have some things showing that we have always been public courts and that we have always been available to, we've had different things that we provide for our community tournaments and lessons and various things like that. I don't think you need to see them. I think you probably already know that. So yes, you can go ahead and stop the screen sharing if you like. And back to Rivera.
Hello again. My question is directed to Mr. Sidney. What are the operating profits of hockey, soccer, and ball? Would you know?
I would have to turn that over to the Director Hill, who manages the budget. I don't see the relevancy to this question pertaining to tennis, though.
Well, it's simple. We want to know why we have to pay.
Well, I don't know if this is the time to get into that discussion because we will be getting the report presented by Director Hill later this evening. When it comes down to it, every sports group pays rental fees, ice fees, ball diamond fees, soccer fees. They pay an hourly rate. So that's why we're reviewing this now that it's come to our attention that the tennis club has operated this way for the last 40 years. Because of the expansion, we learned this. So now we're trying to bring it all up to being where all sports groups pay. So, but I'm sure that'll be discussed later this evening with Director Hill's report.
Jane just mentioned for 40 years, there were no deficit on annual basis. But I understand it's not the case with hockey, not the case with ball, and not the case with soccer. So what
Right.
you're saying is the town and the taxpayers are contributing to hockey, ball, and soccer, but they're not contributing to us on an annual basis.
But as you'll see in the report later this evening, Director Hill has laid it out with what the town will be assuming responsibility for. So resurfacing of it, all of that stuff. So if we can, this is kind of being a dodgy back and forth because the other council members don't have the presentation from Director Hill yet. So there will be, I'm sure, quite a few questions that'll come out later on. And that'll be all discussed and every council will have an opportunity to ask a question. I don't think anybody is reasonable to expect that, you know, the cost of what it is to run a facility like Mattaway and keep it up to the standards that we have for it is not going to generate a profit. I don't think that's realistic. Also to the point of, we could have the debate of, we don't make a profit off of, you know, snow removal or, you know, any of that stuff either. So, you know, the town is not a profitable business. The municipality is not. So it is trying to bring the best
Would you,
services to our
Mr. Sidney,
community.
Mr. Sidney, would you recognize that over 40 years, you didn't have to spend any money operating the annual budget of the tennis club.
Well, I think if you, again, this is getting into a debate, and I don't know if this is the right time to do it. However, I'm sure if any type of municipal staff that work at the rec center had to do anything at the tennis court, that is money from the town contributing to that. So I don't think you can realistically say that municipal staff have never stepped foot on that tennis court.
Yeah, and if I could interject, just my perspective as the clerk, this was a delegation, and I leave it up to Mayor Eady as chair and certainly council to steer what kind of discussion you'd like at this point in time. But as a delegation, it's not meant to be debate, it's meant to be presentation only.
Okay,
Council
that's fine.
listens. But if there are questions, I think there's certainly a method to bring those forward, but I turn it back to council as far as how you want to proceed from here.
Good. I'm ready to turn the page. Forget about it.
Does,
All due respect to everybody here, there will be a report coming forth shortly, and when that motion is put on the table, that's the time, I think, for further discussion from all parties involved.
Thank you.
Yes, Jane.
I was just going to say thank you for listening to us. We appreciate the time that you have spent on this, and hopefully you'll make a good decision.
Okay. Revimo.
Thank you for the information. Just a quick question. I noticed a letter from Mr. Boyce of the Ontario Tennis Association. I don't note that he's an engineer. I also don't note that he's contributing any cash. So his comment, it's very unfortunate about the existing courts could be relocated to other areas in the cultural center. I think it's an unfortunate one. You might want to mention to him that if he has no cash in the game, he may not want to offer such an opinion, or he should present his credentials as either an engineer or a designer. But other than that, I thank you very much for the information. Very informative. However, I sort of discounted that letter because he's from Toronto, and then I'm not sure he's ever darkened the facility. And if I have time, I will take a look at his address and maybe make suggestions on him how to save money by a lower rent or something. But that's my only comment. Thank you.
Thanks.
That was nice.
Okay, council, this is a little bit tricky here how to steer this. Normally when we have a presentation, we turn it over to council members for comments or questions. I'd have to ask Robert and Jane and if you are willing to take questions at this time, or do you want to wait till the report's done?
Yes. Fine.
We could take questions
Yeah.
if you like.
Sure.
Okay, council members, any comments or questions? Okay, Councillor Hines, then Councillor Emo, and then Councillor Evans. I'm sorry, Reeve Emo and then Councillor Evans.
I just want to comment on Reeve Emo's comment. Indeed, yes, the fellow does not live in Renfrew, but he is the president of the Ontario Tennis Association. And barring the last comment, after us telling him, the tennis club telling him our situation, he did recognize that the worth of the club and how we have done all of the things, the tennis club has done all of the things that Jane and Robert and Ben have said. So I wouldn't want to discount the other information in it because it is straightforward and it is correct. I too wonder at his knowledge of engineering, but such as it is. But the rest of the letter, certainly coming from the president of the Ontario Tennis Association, should be, as Ben said, celebrated.
Okay, Reeve Emo.
Thank you. It may have sounded flip, but I always find it interesting when someone offers an opinion where I'm not sure the qualifications. And to Jane and Robert, will this do you have numbers or projections? Will you be able to grow the tennis club with the addition of two extra courts? Will it make it easier to operate? Is it a situation that, if it can be divorced from the feelings leading up to the decision, is it a situation that puts the tennis club in an ideal path going forward? Thank you.
I think our understanding is that there are going to be 6 courts, but 2 of them are actually being designated for pickleball. So it doesn't seem to me that it's really 6 courts designed for the tennis club. It's actually 4 courts replacing what we have, and then 2 courts that are going to be lined for pickleball, and that they expect pickleball to be growing over the next few years. I think that was maybe the intent of the 6 courts.
Well, that's the explanation that we got.
But also the fee structure is important in growing the club as well. And if the fee structure is out of whack, then it's going to be difficult for people to afford to play tennis.
Okay. Councillor Evans.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Just quickly for the word fee structure, it's rather important. I was wondering actually if our Director of Parks and Recreation, Hill, has had a chance maybe to digest the calculations that you're proposing. Obviously, I think my fellow council would like to work with you, with your group, and also our finance committee, as well as the Parks and Recreation, seeing if they sort of your proposal works. What I do really appreciate is actually, as opposed to telling us what your problem is or what the town's problem is that you're putting a proposal together that I'm sure better heads will be able to work something out that's amicable for not only the town, but for your most welcomed tennis club. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Andrew?
Any other questions from council members? Any other comments? Okay, hearing none. All in favor? Okay. Next motion being that the minutes of the regular meeting of council held September 28th, 2021 be adopted as printed. Mover, please.
Yes.
Redeemo, second by Councillor Evans. Any questions or comments on the previous minutes? Okay, hearing none, all in favor? Carried, thank you. Okay, that the minutes of the Administration, Economic Development and Tourism Committee meeting held August the 5th and September the 2nd, 2021 be received. Over, please. Councillor Jamison, seconded by Redeemo. Turn it over to Councillor Jamison for the report.
Okay, so these were 2 relatively quick meetings. We're still working on a few things that are running over into one month to another. So we'll start with the August 5th meeting. So I'll draw your attention to 8.2.2, the Driftscape. So Driftscape is a app that EO McEwen and Deputy Clerk Sharkavy have been researching, and they've discovered that it's an app that you can use, that the municipality can use to promote different functions and advertising. And so our ladies have recommended that we consider this as an option for the town of Renfrew, especially with their advertising. So committee agreed that, we would be interested in doing that. And then if you go next page, 8.2.4. So this is the directional sign at Raglan Street South and Hall Avenue. So originally it was an advertising sign, and we have decided and agreed with the committee. The committee has decided that we're going to just, that it's time that we actually change that to just a welcome sign instead of having a directional sign there. We figure with all the other signage that we have, this is what's going to suit best for that corner. Then the second one below that, the 8.2.5, the RIC sign. So again, this is another thing that was brought to our attention through the BIA, and we agree that that sign out there at the RIC needs to be replaced and removed because it's in pretty tough shape. So again, what we're going to do is wait until the RIC lease has expired, and then we'll decide, or we'll plan and put together, we'll bring back a plan to council on what kind of sign we're proposing at that time. So that's for the August 5th meeting. And for the September 2nd meeting, just a couple of things here. So 8.1.3, the hybrid council meetings. We're very close to being ready to be able to go back to in-person meetings. Clerk Bulmer did note that we will require a policy just to make sure that all the guidelines and how and when and how this is all going to be able to take place. So that's where we are with that. And then the 8.2.2, the digital sign updates. If you noticed, we've had some problems with those signs. I guess the pixelation is a little bit of a issue. So those 5 signboards will be replaced at no cost to the town of Renfrew. So that's good to hear. So that's all I have to report. If there's any questions, I can try and answer them.
Okay, question, Councillor Hines.
When you speak of the sign at the end of the boulevard, Memorial Boulevard, are you talking about the one that has the different businesses on it and such?
Yes.
Yes, okay, and I'm not sure where that would be at, but in the past, people.
I could just intervene.
You put,
Councillor Hines, you're not coming through clear.
oh, well, I don't know what's happening. Step up. Okay, are you able to hear me now?
No.
You're pixelated.
No, my pixels aren't working here. Oh, wow. All right. It shows that I'm not muted.
No.
Okay. Here's
Something's happening there.
turn the video off.
Something's happening.
Okay. How does that work? Is that better?
No, it's with sound.
If I could just fill in some dead air until Councillor Hines gets back in service. The sign at Hull and Veterans Memorial Boulevard, yes, we have, that's been on our agenda for some time. The sign has been now removed because of disrepair. The people that formerly advertised on it were all notified, advising of our plans to remove it. We haven't actively sold advertising on it for just over a year, I guess, or a couple of years. So that sign is down. It's going to be replaced by more of a wayfinding or a welcome sign, and the report will come to council at our next meeting, just to advise of that, show the mock-ups of the signs that we're considering, and to seek council's endorsement of that.
Okay. Any other questions of Councillor Jemison or move forward on this item? Councillor Hines is not back yet.
Am I back now? Are you hearing me now?
Say a few words.
Are you hearing me now?
Sort of.
Oh, boy. I have no idea. Are you hearing me now?
Yes. You're not really loud.
Okay, good enough. Okay, just one other really quick question, and thank you for that answer. That's exactly what I was asking, because I thought they had paid to have their names on those signs, but I'm sure that agreement has run out in some time. But the other sign, is that the sign that has the tower of the post office on it, or what's that, or has it been already taken down?
No, the sign the other sign that we're referring to is actually the sign out on Highway 17. It's the sign you can see just in front of the archive building. It's been removed too because of disrepair, and we're looking at and working with MTO for approval to do a temporary replacement until such time as we can look at more permanent options with the expansion of the 417. So
Okay.
that'll also be part of the report for next council.
Okay, that's great. And I think Councillor Jameson noted that before, and certainly in agreement that it was in disrepair and needed to be replaced. So I wasn't sure where you meant. Okay, that's great. Good report.
Any other questions, comments? Okay, hearing none. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Next motion, that Clerk Bulmer's report dated October the 7th, 2021, concerning the 2022 municipal election methods of voting be received. Over, please. Councillor Jemison, second by Councillor Evans. Clerk Bulmer, do you want to give a short report?
Thank you, Mayor Eady, members of council. This is a report that many of you will recall has seen over the past couple of elections that you've been involved in. It's a report that I brought now. This will be the fourth election in a row dating back to 2010 election, 2014, 2018, and now looking forward to the 2022 election. Preparations have been underway for several months now in preparing. I don't think I need to explain, there's a lot of legwork that goes into getting ready for election, and certainly election year itself poses a large work task for the clerk's department. And part of that is to look every 4 years at the election and how we're going to unfold it, how we're going to offer that to the voting electorate of this town. So for the prior 3 elections, as noted, we have used what I refer to as a hybrid election voting system. That is a combination of paper ballots, that's traditional paper ballots, in addition to online options of internet and telephone. We do have a fairly large working group now established in the county of Renfrew. It's grown since 2018, and we are, going to market for a service provider. We work together on policies, and we try as a group again to put out elections in much the same fashion so we can rely on each other's support and training, efficiencies, etc. So I guess in to encapsulate it, we're not looking at significant changes in 2022. We're looking to run the election in much the same way. I would have thought maybe by now that we would be ready to move on to full 100% electronic election like many jurisdictions have done, but I just don't sense Renfrew's ready for that yet based on the uptake of paper ballot voting in our previous elections. We are sitting about 60% electronic, 40% paper for the last couple of elections. It seems to be relatively static now. We hope to promote and to grow that even more. We're looking again to use a reputable service provider as a larger group to service not only the town of Renfrew's election but several others. We will be certainly providing much more information as time moves along, both to council for information, to prospective candidates, and to the community in terms of voting and voters lists, etc. But that'll come in due time. So tonight it's essentially the required bylaw to authorize the usage of alternative voting methods, and in this case it would be, as mentioned, internet and telephone voting, but also the use of tabulation, which we did use quite successfully in 2018, which we were able to have our paper ballots counted in really at the hit of a button once the 8 o'clock voting closure time came and went. So I won't spend time on going through all the benefits of alternative voting methods, other than it does service a large portion of public that whether they're absent from the municipality, they have accessibility issues, I think it's become, you know, every 4 years we learn more. The systems become better, more easy operated, easily understood. The presentation to the voter becomes more streamlined, and we certainly, I think, we're excited again to move forward and to offer that to the electorate. So I'll certainly answer any questions the council may have.
Okay, any questions, council members? Councillor Hines.
Questions, and first of all, I want to say to Clerk Bowler, he's certainly run very good elections in the past. They're very organized, and people are helped to do whatever they need to do or to understand how the voting process is. So I was part of that election in 2010 at the bottom of the list, and then again in 2018 moving to the top of the list. So electronic voting and the tabulation was great. It came through nice and quick, although there was a little glitch, and that was resolved pretty quick. I just want to be clear, though, that this is saying that we are not having any paper ballots whatsoever.
I'm still having a little trouble with your audio, but I believe you asked me about paper ballots.
Yeah, I did.
There will be paper ballots as is 2018, 2014, 2010. The alternative voting methods will be in addition to the paper ballots. We still have to figure out how we'll roll out the paper, if we'll do it all at what we call a super poll here at the town office or in other locations. We may or may not have COVID-19 to contend with and different issues around that. But we are planning, again, this allows us to have alternative voting methods, but it doesn't exclude, and we are planning to have paper ballots in addition, and we'll roll that information out as we do our preparations. But there will be opportunities for paper ballot submissions for voters.
Clarification. You and your staff have certainly engaged in a very organized election. So thank you.
Okay. Clerk Bulmer, is there any way or any assistance there for Councillor Hines to get our speaker working properly, because she's coming in very staticky?
Yeah, we have a staff member trying to work with that right now, so it's the issues with the councillor's laptop,
Kim?
not our system.
Kim, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you fine.
Can you hear me again?
I can hear you fine, yes.
Okay, so
Okay. Any other questions from Clerk Bulmer on the voting?
okay, is it going?
Hearing none. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Okay. The motion being that bylaw 67, 2021, being the bylaw to authorize the use of optical scanning vote tabulators for the purpose of counting votes at the 2022 municipal election, the use of internet telephone voting as alternative voting methods, and to authorize advanced voting for use in the 2022 municipal election be read a first time and deemed to have been read a second time. Mover, please. Councillor Jemison, second by Councillor Hines. Again, any questions or comments? Hearing none. All in favor? It's carried. Thank you. The bylaw 67, 2021, being the bylaw to authorize the use of optional scanning vote tabulators for the purpose of counting votes at the 2022 municipal election, the use of internet telephone voting as alternative voting methods, and to authorize advanced voting for use in the 2022 municipal election be read a third time and be passed. And I need mover, please. Councillor Sidney, second by Revivo. Any further questions? All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Next motion, the Director Hill's report dated October the 8th concerning the splash pad expansion be received. A mover, please. Councillor Sedney, second by Councillor Coulis. Ask Director Hill if he'd like to give us a report on this.
Thank you very much. As stated in the recommendation, I am recommending that council authorize staff to award the splash pad expansion to ABC Recreation at a cost of $149,992.29 plus HST. As part of the process of looking at the expansion of the splash pad, what we did is we went out and secured 3 proposals. Rather than ask each proponent to provide us with a proposal, we set the dollar amount as budgeted in our 2021-22 capital budget at $150,000 and asked each of the proponent to give us their best designs for that money. We did receive 8 proposals from the 3 different manufacturer suppliers. Staff did a thorough investigation and researched the designs, the compatibility with our existing facility, and some of the features or attractions that each of the different suppliers provided. After the review, we provided the Rotary Club, because they are a major partner in the expansion. We provided them with a binder of all the proposals. They had reviewed with family and grandchildren the different designs and basically handed it back to the town to state that we would be the people maintaining the facility, so that they would leave the evaluation process up to us. Staff sat down, went through the different designs. We had some questions from 2 of the proponents. We had them clarify. And then we evaluated based on, as stated earlier, compatibility, design, number of features, uniqueness to the design, and just how it fit in with the existing splash pad that was built in 2005 through the support of the Rotary Club as well as the Parks and Recreation Fundraising Committee. And at the end of the process, we feel that our staff recommendation is solid in that we go with ABC Recreation. They're very familiar with the product. They are not the supplier that installed the original splash pad in 2005, but they are the supplier of the Vortex system, which is which the current structures are from that supplier. So as part of the Rotary Club 100th anniversary celebration, we are recommending ABC, and we're hoping to award that immediately so that they can put it into their schedule and have this facility open prior to July 1st of 2022. Thank you.
Okay. Any questions or comments? Councillor Evans and then Councillor Jensen. Councillor Evans.
Thank you. Director Hill, for the financial component of this operation, in your report it mentions 3, the Rotary Club, Parks and Recreation, as well as the other word, Funding Committee. But I see a cost of $150,000, all of which seems to be coming from the town. What would be the other, I guess, what are the other values that are being brought in?
The total cost of the project is $150,000. $75,000 has been committed by the Rotary Club. We have requested $25,000 from the Parks and Recreation Fundraising Committee. Due to COVID, they have not met to authorize that expenditure. And then the remaining $50,000 would be paid for by the town of Renfrew over 2 budget years, 21 and 22.
And I do thank you very much for that clarification, and as well as a huge appreciation to the Rotary Club for that substantial contribution. Thank you.
Councillor Jamieson.
Okay, so Director Hill, you said that the equipment that currently is installed there is the Vortex brand?
That is correct. The current facility was built by one of the different suppliers. They now rep a different product. We felt, given the longevity of the Vortex system, with very minimal repairs required since 2005, we felt that we would be best serviced to go with ABC Recreation, who now reps the Vortex system.
Okay, so is there additional, I don't know what you would call that stuff, play structures or whatever going in there as well? Or is it just like a kind of a cleanup and a redesign and a new look?
No, the new design will have 9 new features,
Okay.
plus the existing. And with the upgrade, currently there's an in-ground vault that services the current facility. There'll be a new above-ground vault installed adjacent to the washroom facilities that are located next to the splash pad. And therefore, everything will run out of the new above-ground vault, making it more easy to maintain, more easy to service, more easy to winterize. And we're looking at not quite doubling the area, but we will be seeing 9 new features from the very young to old for them to enjoy, added to the splash pad.
Okay, that's great. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Hearing none. This morning I had the pleasure of making a bit of a speech to the Renfrew Rotary Club, and they give me a list of some of the things they do. It's absolutely amazing, this club. They do a lot of hard work, fundraising, etc. And the bacon on the bun is, I think, one of their biggest ones at the fairgrounds, and they sell a pile of that. They sell an awful pile of that, and it's a good thing. But on a personal side, Director Hill, if you could get together a letter, you can send it from yourself, or if you wish me to sign it, that'd be fine. A letter of thanks to the Rotary Club, and take it from there. And so I think it's a great thing they're doing. And they were in part of the original splash pad as well, so they've been involved from day one, if I'm not mistaken. Okay, any other questions or comments? All in favor? That's carried, thank you. Okay. The Brentford Town Council authorized staff to award the splash pad expansion to ABC Recreation at a cost of $149,992.29 plus HST. Over, please. Councillor Jamison, seconded by Councillor Sidney. Again, any questions or comments? Okay, hearing none. All in favor? Okay, carried. Next, we have a motion on Newport construction. I would just like to say up front, let's just keep this civil. Hopefully it wouldn't get out of hand in any way. So, but anyways, questions will be asked, I'm sure, and we'll go ahead with the motion. The Director Hill's report dated October the 8th, 2021, concerning a new court construction, proposed fees, and demolition of existing courts be received. Mover, please. Councillor Sidney, seconded by Councillor Evans. Turn it over to Director Hill for the report.
Thank you very much. I would like to read the recommendation, and the recommendation is that Council authorize staff to commence construction of 6 new courts, utilizing quality contractors that can ensure completion prior to June 21st, 2022, and further that Council approve the court membership fees and hourly rate charge as presented in this report, and further that Council authorizes staff to commence demolition of the existing courts immediately, and further that the court facility fencing be deemed surplus to allow Horton Township to remove it at their own expense for the use at their outdoor rink, and then further that a revised service agreement with the Renfrew Tennis Club be presented to Council prior to the end of the year. I'd like to provide some background and some dialogue to the number of meetings that we have had as directed by the Recreation Committee. with the tennis clubs and representatives of the tennis clubs. And it's, I'd like to start by stating that I know at a number of the presentations, there's been comments made that not once has anyone recognized the hard-working efforts of the tennis club. And I'd like to do that before I start my presentation, that I feel that the tennis club has done an outstanding job over the past 4 decades at its current facility. It's unfortunate that you have to approach a group of individuals and ask them to expand or to relocate their facilities, given that the resurfacing was just completed in 2018. But as part of the expansion process of the Mattaway Activity Centre, we looked at a variety of options, 3 to be exact, of where to best locate the expansion, how would it be best utilized for space, traffic flow, costs, efficiencies, and we dealt with a number of questions, dealt with a number of issues, and between the engineering team and the architectural team, they had presented what they felt would be the most cost-effective, most economical approach to our expansion. Unfortunately, that expansion was going to land on the existing tennis courts and would force us to relocate. So we've, as those discussions evolved with the Recreation Committee, we began discussions with the tennis club to discuss the relocation, and at that time it was felt that expanding the facility would be beneficial for today and in the future. So that's why we are recommending that 6 courts be built, thinking forward that both tennis and or pickleball could grow, and any other court sport could be introduced at our facilities at Mattaway. At the August 17th meeting of the Recreation and Facilities Committee, I was directed to meet with the club to negotiate an agreement in which the department will oversee the tennis courts in the same manner as municipally owned facilities. I know that there is a dispute between the tennis club and the Recreation Department over that they don't want to be compared to that of minor ball or minor soccer or minor hockey. And I would like to comment on on a comment that was made through their deputation earlier tonight, and they were asking, what does tennis or minor soccer or minor ball cost? It's not the clubs that cost us money. It's the operation of the facilities. Minor hockey, the Minor Hockey Association does not cost the town any money. Minor ball does not cost the town any money. The Minor Soccer Association does not cost the town any money. It is the operations of the facilities. Whether you want to look at an operating expense as either operational or capital is entirely up to yourselves, but at the end of the day, and that's how we came up with the numbers that we are presenting tonight, is we looked at the operational cost of replacing an asset over its entire life expectancy. And when we look at the life expectancy of a tennis court, and for round numbers, we're stating that it costs $100,000 per court to construct, and it has a 30-year life expectancy. 30-year life expectancy, $100,000. We're looking at $3,333 annually per court. Or if we build 6 courts, we're looking at needing to generate $20,000 annually to just take care of the replacement costs of that asset in 30 years. That's not mentioning the resurfacing that has to occur approximately every 10 years, maybe 15, or the repairs to nets, fencing, lighting, drainage, what have you. So we looked at and we presented some options. We've met with the tennis group a few times to discuss their proposal compared to what the staff were looking at as a fair and equitable proposal for their consideration. We did host a special meeting on October the 4th with the Parks, Recreation and Facilities Committee to discuss a delegation with the tennis club, and they were able to present their findings. We were able to provide ours. And at the end of the day, staff had looked at, and depending on who you want to compare to, what you want to compare to, I really look at one municipality in the Ottawa Valley. I know that the tennis club have others that they would like to compare to, but I look at ourselves in Petawawa. Petawawa has a municipally owned court of which a tennis club provides services and programs out of that, and in exchange they charge a membership, and one half goes to the municipality and one half goes to the club. Now, due to COVID for the past 2 years, they've not operated. So the municipality has just charged a flat fee of $50 for a membership for the use of those courts. And again, I know that the tennis club have other comparables. They're not municipally ran and owned tennis club or tennis facilities. We're in a very unique situation, and one that I feel has been very beneficial for the town. And we're just looking to provide something to the community that's fair and equitable with all other user groups that we service in our community. I agree with what the tennis club is stating, that our mission statement and our vision statement is what it is. I would be first in line to lobby council to waive the costs for minor ball, for minor soccer, for minor hockey, for all other groups and organizations that we deal with. Unfortunately, we are not a service that it can be taxed and paid for on the backs of the entire taxpayer. We have to provide user fees to reduce that burden. It's unfortunate. I've been fighting this challenge my entire career. I tried to ensure the tennis group that I would try and be as fair and equitable as I could. I appreciate and understand change is not something that is welcomed, but I feel that if we look at the benefits and we look at the enhancement to our facility that we could be facing with a approval of the recommendation tonight, we will have one of the nicer facilities in Eastern Ontario to be proud of. It's enhanced to 6 courts. The comment was made that there'd be 2 pickleball and 4 tennis. That is not correct. We will have 6 tennis court markings on 6 courts, and there will be 2 pickleball game markings on 2 of those. I did meet with the pickleball group today to explain the recommendation that was coming forward tonight, and did receive a nice email back from them earlier today thanking me for my time, and that they do support the recommendation that's coming forward, and they're looking forward to utilizing the courts that are being constructed for 2022 usage. The numbers that I did not include in my report and that was brought to my attention tonight by Acting Treasurer Aaron Broom is that I didn't specify the numbers of the 3 competitive quotes that we did receive. And those range in numbers from $700,999 plus lighting, plus HST, to $1.395245 million to construct 6 new tennis courts. Staff did reach out to local trades and local contractors that we consider to be experts in their field, and we were able to break that cost down to construct 6 new tennis courts at $550,000 plus HST. So we feel that we are able to provide or to construct professional grade tennis courts with the assistance of the experts when it gets down to the resurfacing and what have you. We feel that we can provide those at a cost-effective manner, as well in the time frame that has been stated for June of 2022 to have play resume. Now, I know that the comment was made earlier tonight in the deputation about they would like to extend the playing season a few more weeks, and it's great that we have the weather, but I also feel that we need to utilize that weather to prepare the area. And unfortunately, when we prepare the area for construction, we will have to deem it a construction area. And when we do commence construction with the removal of the netting and posts from the existing, the removal of the asphalt and granular from below the existing, and to build our new, commence building the new tennis or court areas, we want to make sure that we can do that in a safe manner. I know that at the start of our discussions or early on in the discussion, the tennis club had stated that, you know, don't touch our courts until October 1st. So we went to the builder, Butcon. We told them that nobody could touch the courts until October 1st, which they've respected. Sometimes good things happen or bad things happen for a reason. As construction is being delayed due to a number of factors, with the expansion, we were able to accommodate the requests of the tennis club. I don't believe we will be able to accommodate the request of the tennis club to extend the season by an additional few weeks if we're going to make that June deadline for play on the new facilities. We have went back and forth. We have listened to the tennis group. There's been some good discussion, some heated discussion, some information that has been, you know, unfortunately and fortunately, I guess, the understanding or misunderstanding between the two parties of how we see a tennis club compared to other sport clubs in our community. And at the end of the day, it is the Recreation's opinion that the tennis club operates in the same manner as minor hockey, soccer, and ball. They organize league play, scheduling, paying insurance to the provincial sport governing bodies, and the collection of fees from their participants. The one significant difference is that the tennis clubs assume all the daily maintenance responsibility for the courts, as well as pays the hydro bills and repairs for the tennis courts. We are recommending, through the new fee structure, that those bills, any hydro bills, any requirement for upgrades in netting, the resurfacing every 10, 15, 20 years, whenever it is required, that it would be completed through those fees. And as stated earlier, the goal from the staff perspective was to generate $20,000 annually. We did put together a recommendation for the rec committee that was recommending that we, based on the current membership rate, that we would generate just over $17,000 annually. And we expect that our expenses will be somewhere between $5,000 and $7,000 annually, giving us a net of about $10,000 to $12,000 towards the annual replacement or the replacement of the courts. The rec committee listened to the deputation. They heard the tennis club talk about the impacts that the fee structure would have on their members. There was numbers stated that 50% of their membership would leave if they had to pay an exorbitant amount of fees. We did discuss a rate that was higher than what was recommended. The committee recommended the rates be lowered by $15 per person to accommodate the family rates or the family concerns that the tennis club people had raised at that meeting, and it was passed, or the recommendation was made by the Recreation Committee to present the new fee chart within the staff report. And we felt as a committee that it was fair, that it was accommodating to the entire group and affordable. I know we all differ on what affordable is, but I can assure you that if there are people in need, our department has, I feel, went above and beyond to secure funds for those less fortunate to be able to participate in sport and recreation in our community, and we will continue to do so if faced with people in that situation that wish to play tennis in our community. In closing, I would like to thank those members of the tennis group, Nancy, Mike, Sandy, Robert, and Ben, and I'm missing one, Jane. I apologize for the time and efforts that you've spent in meeting with myself and staff and members of council to come up with something that, you know, to give your side of the presentation and to listen to ours. I know that there's always a space in the middle that we have to get to so that everyone is satisfied. But I want to assure you that I take direction from council. I will continue to take direction from council, and I will do the best I can to meet the needs of the entire community and beyond for the recreational needs as we look towards this expansion as a positive for all, not just one segment of our community. The entire community will look at this as a positive when it does open in October of 2022. Thank you.
All right. Okay, any questions? Starting with Councillor Hines.
Now, hopefully you can hear me. Are you getting an echo?
Says you're on mute, but we can hear you fine.
Yeah, they brought me a microphone. So just basically, I'm going to move this away from me here, so I'm not getting that echo. I don't know if you can help me, Jennifer. I just have a few questions and a few comments. And starting out with April 19th, 2021, the grant was announced that the federal government gave us 6.4 million. The Ontario government gave us 5.3. The town was 4.2, and that came to almost 16 million for the project. Now the project sits at approximately 18 million, and we do not even have a shovel in the ground yet, and that's not Director Hill's fault. It happens to be COVID supply and demand, but still the price rises. So I have to be concerned about where $600,000 for these courts, or $550, is going to come from. It says the construction of 6 new courts is included in the expansion project funding formula. I wasn't aware of that before. Basically, at first, we were told that money that needed to be collected to build the courts, and I believe that's what Jane Donnelly and that delegation was told from the Recreation Committee, that the money was, how are the courts going to be built if tennis didn't contribute? So that concerns me that hasn't been brought before a finance meeting or a council meeting, and just in this report, as I picked it up Friday and read it, it says that it's already included in the project. So I'm just not sure how or where and when that got in there, because basically the tennis club was told about the need to demolish the courts when they needed to put the cultural center over it. And just to clarify that the cultural center to the tennis group is an important part of our park out there, and we certainly welcome it. It's just unfortunate that it has to be over the top of courts that are already built and already paid for. And the service agreement that, there's kind of two parts to this. There's the building of the new courts, and then there's the service agreement. And I know some councillors have made the comment that the service agreement was a sweet deal and unauthorized, illegal, all of these other things. But noteworthy is that I did a little research, and there was a report to council in August 7th, 2002. It came to a council meeting August the 12th, 2002. And at that meeting, there was a report, and the way that it worked back then is the director met with the group and discussed the service agreement, and it was put into a report and brought the report of August 7th and brought to the council table. And in a motion, 2002-8, number 16 motion, that the service agreement for the operation of the Renfrew tennis courts by the Renfrew Tennis Club be approved, and that the Director of Parks and Recreation and Tourism be authorized to sign the agreement on behalf of the town. When there's a motion passed at council, that's kind of a public record, and it's a legal agreement as far as I guess the comments went, that it's illegal, etc. But that agreement, as Director Hill said, is in place until either party wishes to bring it forward, and that's where it's come to now, that I understand it coming forward. I know that Councillor Jameson asked the question at the time, why would the tennis people want new courts? They seem perfectly fine. Well, I have to agree with you. The tennis club have the same question on that those courts are paid for. There would be no debenture needed or anything else. And now we're looking at $600,000 for 6 courts. And there's to be a cost saving because the location of the cultural center is over the tennis courts, and now we're having to put in $600,000 for that. So that's a little confusing, but I'm sure the numbers have been calculated out, and I trust that they have. I want to just make note of back in when that report had come to council, one of the comments at that time, always the treasurer makes a comment, as the reports today. Noteworthy is that the finance comment was, this agreement provides a valuable program to the citizens without the expenditure of taxation dollars, taxation revenue. So it was recognized that that was a valuable asset, that certainly people were active, and that the way that the agreement was set up, there was no cost other than capital costs, and those were certainly expected to be shared with the tennis club and whoever else there were able to access. And that's what happened when they were resurfaced in 2018, and an expenditure of 30,000, almost 37,000, 30,000, it was actually $28,000 was spent. A third by the tennis club put their money in, a third by the town, and a third by the recreation, or the tennis club applying to the fundraising recreation committee that do support various entities that are happening in the municipality, as the same as they're going to support the splash pad. I want to say a big thanks to Director Hill for stating that the tennis club, in his report, that the tennis club has done an excellent job over the past decades of operating the tennis courts and running the club at no taxpayer dollars for the yearly operation. So I have to say, Why are we fixing something that's not broke? And maybe other organizations might buy into that type of a plan. Although I don't know about little minor hockey fellows out there zamboniing the ice or cutting the grass if they're a soccer player. But that's, we have a lot of older members that are able to handle those volunteer jobs. And those volunteers provided free labor for the management, the booking, the repairs, the material that we bought at no cost to the town. So that service agreement does exist in other municipalities, such as the City of Ottawa owned courts. I spoke with Kelly Bean, who's the director of facilities down there, and they have no financial exchange, is what she told me. It's a service agreement yearly with their tennis club. So I don't know. I don't believe that the ones that Jane Donnelly had in her report are anything but. They're not private clubs. They are municipally run or owned facilities. So there is some debate over that. Anyway, I'm still a little confused of the nature of the dollars that need to be raised, although I think that Director Hill somewhat clarified that it is to look after partially the expenditures that the club used to look after for free out of their fees, the hydro, the maintenance, the equipment and such would now be the problem of the tennis club, or still the problem, or still the expenditure from the tennis club. But the nets and any minor repairs and stuff, I'm pretty sure that's what he said. And then the balance would go into a reserve fund, I guess, for future development. I think it was a little confusing before, because at first, when we spoke about this, it was to a reserve fund, and then it was to the point was raised at the Recreation Committee that how would these courts get paid for if we didn't pay for them, if the tennis club did not pay for them. So that was a little confusing. And just in regard to your report, if I could ask Director Hill to just clarify on, I think it's on page 5, that the municipal surcharge amount, is that the in-town and out-of-town fee? And then the numbers below being 15, 35, 70, and 65, are those what you're looking at it as membership court fees? Like if you wanted to have a Renfrew tennis membership, on your report here, how much is going to the club and how much is the municipal surcharge?
To explain that question, the first chart on page 5, at a special meeting of the Parks Recreation Committee held on October the 4th, staff recommended the following membership fees: junior 30, intermediate 50, adult 85, and senior 80. Out of town, which all of our policies, recreational policies are that, 1.5% more for out-of-town users, 45 for juniors, 75 for intermediate, 127.50 for adults, and 120 for seniors, and an hourly fee of $8 per court for non-members. Representatives from the Renfrew Tennis Club suggested that the memberships, that they would lose charging those proposed fees, and talked about the family rates. At that point, the group left. I was provided direction from the committee to recommend $15 per junior, intermediate, adult, and senior. So I've reduced the rates that were proposed by staff by $15 for each of those areas, and then did the calculations for the out-of-town as well at 1.5 per increase for the out-of-town. So the rates that are being recommended tonight are junior 15, intermediate 35, adult 70, and senior 65. And those fees would be charged by the Town of Renfrew, Department of Parks, Recreation and Facilities. What the club charges to operate their operations is entirely up to them. I know we discussed, and there was a mixed comments from the group about what that impact would be, or that cost savings by us taking over the costing of hydro, the keying of the entries at the facility, the replacement of nets, and the resurfacing as required were the 4 areas that we were taking over those costs. And at this point, if the club chooses to lower their membership by $10, $20, $30, or $50, that's entirely up to the club. What the town is recommending, or staff is recommending for council to approve, is that we would charge a court fee of $15, $35, $70, and $65 respectively.
Okay, that certainly sorts out that chart. I didn't understand when there were 2 charts together, but we're talking about the approval of the bottom chart here, and that's the municipal fee or the amount that would go to the town then on an annual basis in whatever the membership to be a part of the club and whatever would be an additional amount, right? It would be, let's just say if the fee for juniors was $30, then the total fee would be $45.
That's
Am I
correct.
reading that right?
That's correct. And if the fee, which is currently $85 for an adult, if they chose to lower that fee by $30 and charge $55, then the net impact of our increases would be $40. If the club chose to lower their fee by $20, the net impact for an adult member would be $50. So depending on what the club chooses to charge for a membership will directly impact what the overall impact to the member is. Should the club feel that they need to retain the same membership fee and charge the same $85 for an adult, the impact for an adult membership in 2022 will be $70.
Okay. Okay. So how much of this is going to the town? I'm reading this that if we had a junior membership, $15 would go to the town, and the membership fee that the tennis club is charging is over and above that. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. So this is the amount that the tennis club will be paying to the town of Renfrew for what you're going to take on in services, let's just say, maintenance, et cetera.
That's not true. That's what the town is going to charge
Okay.
for each person wishing a court membership at the new
Okay.
tennis court. So we will charge a court membership, we will administer, we'll charge those fees, and then the club, if people want to participate in the tennis club, they will purchase a club membership to play in your leagues and have insurance covered by the OTA and what have you. But these are the fees that the Recreation Department will be charging for the use of the courts to all members, whether it be tennis, whether it be pickleball. These will be the court rates that are recommended for the fees for service bylaw for April 1st of 2022.
Okay, thank you for that clarification. And just one other point there with the out-of-town, the municipalities that we have user fee agreements, such as Horton, those user fee agreements would relate to this also?
Yeah, Horton, Admaston Bromley, McNabb Braeside, and Greater Madawaska residents of those communities would all pay the in-town fee because of our agreement we have with those municipalities. Anyone from Whitewater, Bonershire Valley, Arnprior, and beyond would pay the out-of-town rate. And that fee structure exactly resembles all of our other fee structures for parks and recreation programs that we currently offer.
Okay, I appreciate your clarification. That makes it a little clearer to me. Although I might not support this, whatever happens tonight, as I mentioned to you, Director Hill, I plan to move forward with council's desire and continue to work with you in the role that council has directed you in. So thank you for your clarification.
Yeah. Okay. Any other comments from council members? Reid Emo.
Thank you. So as I understand the model, just from what I've been hearing, there will be X number of hours where the tennis club will be billed for the court. But I also think I just heard that you can play on the court without being a tennis club member. So does that mean the tennis club has the courts from 8 in the morning till 8 at night? And if I wanted to play as a non-member, I'd play at 9. So I'm a little fuzzy on the details, because they seem to perform a role as a bit of a gatekeeper now. And I don't mean that negatively, but it seems to have some organization due to their efforts. So can I get a little clarification on that, please?
The way that it is part of the final comment or the final statement within the staff recommendation is that we still have to work out a service agreement with the various clubs, tennis club, pickleball club, what have you. But by purchasing a club membership, a court membership, you can participate at all open times on the courts. So if you're not a tennis club member and the tennis club is running a mixed doubles league, you would not be able to participate in that mixed doubles league unless you were a member of the tennis club. You wouldn't be able to play on the courts unless you had a court membership through the town of Renfrew. Anyone who wishes not to purchase a membership, i.e. someone visiting from out of town wishes to play on the courts, the fee structure for that is being recommended at $8 per hour. So if you want to book the courts for an hour and a half, you're going to be charged by the Parks and Rec Department $12 per court to utilize a court. I.e. if we had a tournament come in and they wanted to rent 3 courts for the day, they would be charged $12 per hour per court for the 8, 6, or 12 hours, what have you. But the recommendation that we are presenting tonight is to go with a membership-based fee structure for our club, similar to what we do with the fitness center at the rec center, where we charge a membership fee for basically unlimited use of that facility for the season. We're not looking at a fee plus a membership. It's just a flat membership fee for all to participate. We ran the numbers both ways, and for us to charge an $8 fee based on the usage at 25% of what the tennis club can book out this year, the revenue was north of $60,000. So it wasn't feasible to go that route. That's why we are presenting the membership route, which charges each individual for use of the courts at Mattaway on an annual basis.
Okay. Any other questions from council members? Okay. I guess I'll also ask, does the delegation wish to ask any questions? Okay, hearing none. Okay. All in favor of accepting that report? Okay, carried.
Your worship?
Yes.
Okay, just a second here. When we're receiving the report, we're just receiving the information, and now we will deal with each point on its own?
We'll, the next motion will include all the
can't hear
things
you.
that Director Hill had already talked about, but it's all in one motion.
Okay.
The last motion
Then,
was
when we
motion was-
receive this report, are we approving the council commits construction, that we have the membership fee as presented, that the demolition will occur, that the fencing will go to Horton, which is wonderful, that the revised service agreement with the tennis club will be prior to the end of the year? Are we agreeing to all of that? Is that what the motion was?
No, not this one. This was just to the motion. I'll read it again.
Okay, sorry.
The Director Hill's report dated October 8th concerning a new court construction, proposed fees and demolition of existing courts be received. So it's just receiving it. It's not passing anything. Okay, so I'll ask again, all in favor? Okay, that's carried. Okay, now here's the new motion. The Renfrew Town Council authorized staff to commence construction of 6 new courts utilizing quality contractors that can assure completion prior to June 21st, 2022. Further, Renfrew Town Council approved the court membership fees and hourly rate charge as presented in this report. And further, that Renfrew Town Council authorized staff to commence demolition of existing courts immediately. And further, that the court facility fencing be deemed surplus and allow Horton Township to remove it at their own expense for use at their outdoor rink. And further, that a revised service agreement with the Renfrew Tennis Club be presented to council prior to the end of the year. So I need a mover on that, please. Councillor Jemison, second by Councillor Sidney. Okay.
Your
We have a
worship,
move
could we have a
from Secretary?
recorded vote?
We can when we get to that, yes?
Yeah, I'm sorry, I don't know when I'm speaking or not.
Okay, that's no problem. Okay,
Oh,
any
this is so
questions?
bad.
Questions or comments on this motion? Councillor Evans, and then Revimo.
Thank you. Just a quick comment to Director Hill, who's obviously been put in a very difficult position to bring numbers to council as well as a delegation. I do appreciate that there has been what would consider a major compromise on behalf of the town, lowering its base rate, if that, for lack of a better word from my end, on such an important facility. But at the same time, also including or recognizing that the club itself has to function and respects that. So right now, without hearing from the delegation, I would support this this new amended fee schedule. Thank you.
Revimo.
Thank you. I'm still, I don't know, I must be missing something here, but I'm still not able to understand this. So if I look at the second page of the report where it talks about in town and out of town. So in theory, an adult would be $85. But then I'm given to understand that makes them a member of the tennis club, or that doesn't make them a member of the tennis club. I can't quite grasp that. And are they able to add on top of that? So I need a little more clarity on that, if you don't mind.
Maybe I can speak on this a wee bit. We have agreements with the area municipalities mentioned, Horton, Avison, Bromley, McNabb, Braeside, Greater Madawaska. And within that agreement, when they come into Renfrew to play, say, minor hockey, they pay the same fee as somebody with Renfrew would pay. So if they want to play minor ball, they pay the same fee. Everything's the same fee. Whether it be gymnastics, whatever, same as the Renfrew resident pay. But the townships, outskirting townships, they pay us X number of dollars a year based on their membership, and that comes directly from the township to offset whatever. The extra fee, the 1.5%, or the 1.5 times, is basically, as said before, any municipality that's not under an agreement with the town of Renfrew. Take Whitewater as an example, or Boche Valley. I don't know if that clears it up for you, Revimo.
If I might, not really. So with this proposal, the town collects the fees. And so are we still expecting monies from the tennis club on an annual basis? I'm still not understanding how this is working. So in theory, if there are 200 members and they're all adult, then we would be collecting that money and then apportioning it internally to operation and to reserve. And so where does the tennis club get the revenue for their contribution? Like that's where I'm really struggling with it, because I'm not quite sure, but I'm obviously not reading it well. I've gone through it a couple times and I can't seem to get it. So if someone could explain that, I'd appreciate it.
Okay, Director Hill.
My apologies. When we met with the club on the 4th, we had tried to determine what their savings were, and I had reached out to their treasurer and asked on a couple of occasions what the cost savings would be. It's not a number that the club chose to share or chose to identify. So what we've done is we've provided the number that the town will be charging for the use of the courts. So the number in the lower fee structure, the upper fee structure is what was presented at the October 4th Rec Committee meeting. I wanted to show the two to identify what staff had recommended and then what council had directed me to recommend to council. So the lower fee structure of $15 for a junior, $35 for an intermediate, an adult at $70, and a senior at $65 are fees that are coming to the town of Renfrew for the use of the tennis courts. And if I could put it into perspective, whether you utilize the courts 5 times, 10 times, or 200 times, that's what your fee would be for the year payable to the town of Renfrew. What the club chooses to charge their membership to be part of the club, to play in leagues, to be covered by insurance, to be involved with the banquet and all the programming and what have you, is a fee totally separate. And that the club will charge that, collect that, and utilize that to their best abilities. What we will be doing is collecting these fees and making it part of our annual operating budget, where we will have expenses that will come out. We will have revenues to offset those expenses, and then any surpluses would be used towards the funding formula of the expansion project. I hope that clarifies, and if not, I can elaborate or what have you, but it's 2 totally separate fees. This is the court fee. What the club charges will be the club fees. 2 totally separate charges.
Okay, Rebimo, did you have any more on that?
So no, that was my first part. So now I'm starting to understand that. So the second part is then the tennis club does not have any responsibility for contributing to the life and the maintenance of the court, because the town essentially, as the landlord, is collecting all the fees.
Correct. So we will cover, included in those fees, we will cover the hydro bill. We will cover the access through a key system that we will have utilized at both Mattaway and the tennis courts. So it'll be a key system that will allow you entry. We will cover the resurfacing as required and any net replacements as required. So those are the 4 commitments that we've made to the club as part of the fees that we are collecting. And again, depending on what that savings is to the club, it would be anticipated that they would lower their membership by those fees because they will not be directly paying for those fees moving forward. And at the end of the day, there will be a net impact to each participant of tennis in our community, but it is not this number. Unless tennis chooses to leave their fees what they were currently charging in 2021.
Okay. Rebimo, you're okay with that part of it now?
I'm starting to, and I thank you, council, for your indulgence. So then why do we need an agreement? Because if we're not, expecting revenue from them directly, and it says here about getting an agreement, does the agreement then book time for the clubs so that, I can't suddenly show up at noon one day and say, oh, I want to play today. So is there, I guess those are a couple of the questions. Thank you.
And I'd like to comment because I appreciate that and what the agreement the agreement as currently written in 2002 and 2007 identifies a lot of detail that we will not need in the new agreement. I look at the new agreement to identify how many hours per week does the club require per member. So if they're running a doubles league, a singles league, a seniors league, a morning group, and they say to me, we need this many hours earmarked for tennis club, and they have 240 members, and they need, for round numbers, they need 2,400 hours of court time throughout the year. That is 10 court hours for every membership sold to run their leagues. Well, if that's the agreement that we would make with tennis, I would like to strike this same agreement with pickleball. So for every membership they sell, they would be given or earmarked that many court hours throughout the year. We are aware of the leagues and how the tennis club operates. As one member of our staff is a member. So, we've been very open in discussions with them of how much time they need. Any time outside of those league play will be open for people to set up a match with other members within the community or beyond as members to book the facilities at no cost because they've already paid their court fee. So, but it also gives the opportunity if somebody wants to go up and try tennis for $8 an hour, 1, 2, or 3 of their friends can go up and give tennis a try or give pickleball a try for that fee of $8 per hour. So it provides options. It earmarks a certain set number of hours to the tennis club. It'll earmark and set a set number of times for the pickleball group, and it will also allow the use for public play. We may have we have public skating now. We may have an opportunity, come out and try tennis, come out and try pickleball, where we offer that at no cost or low cost to people to come out and try and build the sport, but it gives us flexibility to do that with the agreement that we're hoping to strike with the tennis club and the pickleball club moving forward.
Intersect with one quick question, Director Hill. When you say $8 an hour, that's for the court. So if, say, Peter and I want to go and play tennis, that'd be $4 each.
That's correct. Or if 4 of you wish to go play, it's $2 each, which I feel is very affordable recreation for the town of Renfrew, therefore meeting our mission and our vision statement.
Okay. Revimo, are you finished now? Okay, Councillor Jamison.
Okay, so Director Hill, I just want to confirm. So, okay, we know what the club members will pay for their membership. We know what the people or what they will pay to play tennis. We know what the people who are not part of that membership or who are not part of that tennis club, we know what they're going to pay. But when the tennis club is running a clinic or like has, some kind of function that's going on for like 8 hours of the day, they are paying the hourly rate just like everybody else. Is that correct?
That was not the intent when we put these fees together. And again, we would be having those discussions. I'll give you an example. One of the contractors that has submitted a bid has requested that once the courts get built, whether he's part of it or not, he's requested bringing a large tennis activity or tennis event to our community to try and build the sport of tennis. That type of event would be ran at an hourly fee per court. But the tennis club, and again, we have to negotiate how much time per member, how many special events and what have you, because for every special event that we offer, it takes away time on the courts. But again, we have to look at what's been happening in the past and put together a fair agreement that meets the needs of that club, but it will also provide access to the courts by the public and access to the courts by other groups within our community. So will they be able to run 100 new special events? No, but they have a history over the years of the number, and it's in their proposal, like in their proposal of the different special events they run. And we would include that in the service agreement, which would come back to council for their approval. But we have to work that out. And right now, I just wanted to deal with the urgency of beginning construction so that we get the base in and all the infrastructure in place for and if all goes well and we keep getting the weather we have, if all goes well, we could have it paved this fall and the fencing posts up, but we don't know. It could snow next week. But the agreement with the tennis club and with the pickleball group moving forward will identify those issues that Councillor Jameson has addressed there.
Okay, any further questions, Councillor Jameson?
Mayor Eady, with council's indulgence, the Renfrew Tennis Club had a question that they'd like to, or a comment they'd like to make, so.
Okay, we'll do that first then. Please go ahead.
Thank you. So it's Ben Treadlinger, and I'm still concerned about the family rate though. Mom, dad, couple of kids, 3 kids, it's going to be unaffordable at your current levels. I appreciate that you went down in price for the other, categories, but the family rate, because we do have significant number of families joining the club, you really need to consider that to make tennis affordable for those people. Thank you.
Okay. Director Hill.
I would like to address the comment from the tennis club. When staff reviewed and looked at the rate structure, what we did not do is put any rates in place that we currently don't have. And we looked at it. We don't have a family rate for any of our other fee structures. Like if a family joins the fitness center, they pay for 2 adults and 2 children. They pay the monthly rates. There's not a discount for family. I know that when the presentation was made on October 4th, it was the driving force from the rec committee to lower the rates by $15 per person. So therefore, there would be a $60 reduction for the family rate. And I hear what the club is stating, but I still look at the adult rates, depending on what the club does with their membership rates. 2 adults and 2 juniors, you're looking at $170, and if you've got 2 adults and 2 intermediates, you're looking at $210. Less what the club reduces their rates by because of the fees that we've taken on as part of our agreement to this new fee structure.
Okay. I believe next I believe it was Councillor Hines.
Yes, thank you very much. I just want to be clear on this, and I was clear until Councillor Reeve Emo asked that question. So there are 3 fees, right? There's a court fee that you could just come from anywhere and play. You don't have to live in Renfrew. You could live in wherever, a township that's not a user agreement. It'll just be $8 per hour. You go, you try it out, you play, or you just happen to be at your cottage, you come, you play. Fee number 1. Fee number 2 is the town fee that folks could pay and play whenever they want? Because they're going to play, like it might be more affordable to get that town rate than continue to pay $8 an hour, correct?
That's correct. But also, if a member of the tennis club, they will be paying a court fee to play on the courts at Mattaway. So a member of the tennis club will pay the tennis club their membership fee, whatever they choose to charge, plus they'll pay the fees identified in the second graph or the second chart in the report. Someone from out of town or somebody wishing to just pick up a racket and play for an hour will pay a court fee of $8 per hour.
Okay, so my question is, can you pay the town fee and just go and play whenever you want without being a member of the tennis club? So then that makes, there's 3 different, like, choices, right? Just a minute, I have to unmute you to be able to listen to you.
That's correct. So the options for playing on the courts in Renfrew will be pay the hourly fee of $8 or pay the court fees as identified in the second fee structure. If you wish to not be a member of the tennis club and you wish to just pay the $70 to go out and play with a friend every other day in Renfrew, you can do that. That is correct. If you want to participate in their mixed doubles, senior league, the youth program, any of that, I assume that the club, but I can't speak for them, I would assume that they will charge a membership fee to participate in their activities. But we will be charging the town of Renfrew a fee to use the
Okay,
courts.
that answers my question.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Okay. Any other questions or comments on this?
The tennis club would like to ask another question or make a comment.
Absolutely, go ahead.
I think you've changed the structure of your fees things a little bit since the last time we talked to you. This is an entirely new kind of arrangement. You're basically saying that the tennis club will run the courts, the tennis club will repair, because we still do all the repairs. All you're taking on is netting and resurfacing, but who fills the cracks? Who does all the maintenance? The tennis club does.
No.
And you have not worked that into your proposal. You are leaving us with those costs, but you are saying that anybody can go out and play on the courts, which we maintain, for $70, and they don't have to be a member of the tennis club.
That's
Which
correct.
is kind of an interesting arrangement.
No, nothing has changed, just to be very, very clear. Nothing has changed from our discussion of September, and I'll give you the exact dates. We've had a number of them. The presentations or the discussions that have occurred on August 17th, September 21st, and October 4th are exactly what is presented tonight. The town is suggesting or staff are recommending, as directed by the rec committee, a fee structure to utilize the courts. We, the town of Renfrew, will cover the hydro costs, the access through the locks and access through the gate system. We will take care of the resurfacing of the courts, and we will take care of the replacement of the netting as required. They are the 4 promises that have been made to the group on 3 different occasions, and that's where we're at. If somebody wishes to not join the tennis club and just wishes to play on the courts, yes, that is an option that was not presented in the past, but it will be an option that is presented to the members of our community. No different than if somebody wishes to book an hour of ball diamond or an hour of soccer pitch time and just have a family outing or a group of friends get together, book an hour of ice. The same opportunity is going to be provided, and that was the direction that I was given by the rec committee, to make sure that this facility is ran in the same fashion as all other recreation facilities in the town of Renfrew.
It's a pretty big difference because we do the maintenance of the courts. So basically, we are maintaining the courts. But, and we have always, they have always been available to non-members. We have always had court fees. Any non-member could pay a court fee of $5 an hour and play on the courts. That has never been an issue. But basically, you are saying the tennis club will continue to provide the maintenance, the resurfacing, the crack maintenance, the repairs, everything else that is involved with the courts, but you don't have to buy a membership to play on them. So we do the work, and they're available to anybody.
Not what I'm saying at all, Jane. I apologize. The town will take.
It kind of sounds that way.
I guess I'll leave it for council to decide whether it sounds
Okay.
that way, because I very clearly in my report have identified that we will pay for the resurfacing as required. I don't know how we can
Maintenance-
misunderstand that.
Yes, resurfacing is done every 12 to 15 years, but the courts require maintenance every summer, which our club has always looked after. Crack filling, cleaning the courts, all of those things. That has always been done by the Renfrew Tennis Club. And you have left those costs.
And Jane, I
to us.
will state that the town staff have helped when requested. The town staff have answered the call and responded immediately to any request of the club.
Okay, Councillor Evans and then Councillor Sedney.
And thank you to the delegation for that question. What is the issue at hand? It's yearly maintenance or making sure that the court is flat or tracked. I'm not a tennis player, so I couldn't speak to that. But Kevin, is there some sort of burden of responsibility that we're putting on the club versus what the town thinks? Sorry, if we could all get a little more clarification on that last point, would be great. What is the club's concern, and are we addressing that, or are we leaving that to them to handle in this arrangement?
As directed by the committee, and that's it was an issue that was brought up earlier in the deputation, is that we would set the fees for the first year, 2022, and we had looked at, staff had recommended a 10-year phase-in. Just to work backwards and explain to all of council the negotiations that have been presented. We presented a 10-year option. That 10-year option would have us collecting $20,000 annually in year 5 and $30,000 in year 10, $10,000 in year 1, therefore an average of $20,000. That was in excess. We heard the tennis club. We listened to the tennis club. I believe it was Councillor Koulis that suggested that we look at a 5-year phase-in. So we went back to the drawing board and looked at a 5-year phase-in. We still needed to collect the same number of dollars to look at a life cycle planning of a facility of this structure. So when those numbers were put forward, the tennis club, the staff, we looked at it. We went back and we said, if we do a 5-year phase-in, in year 5, we're in excess of $100 for a member. We felt that was too high. So that's when we presented an $80, and I believe it was an $80 and an $85 fee structure for the membership. They attended the special meeting we had to discuss this. They requested, due to family, due to the impacts of what a fee structure was going to have, losing the number of members. The rec committee then directed me to lower the fee structure by $15. There was this is the first time in all of our discussions that I'm hearing that there's an issue with the day-to-day maintenance for the operations of the tennis club. If there's an issue and they want to look at day-to-day maintenance, we can relook at the fee structure. And as Councillor Koulis had identified at the rec committee, is that we will look at the fee structure on an annual basis, as we do with all of our other fees, and those fee structures will be adjusted based on the net revenue and expenses on an annual basis. And that's where the staff went back and said, here's what we need to generate, here's what we anticipate our cost will be based on the last 3-year budgets that have been presented to us from the tennis club. And we feel that there's going to be an annual revenue of between $10,000 and $12,000 after expenses to go towards the funding formula of the expansion project. So if the tennis club wants somebody there, I believe the comment was made, squeegee in the courts after it rains. We can charge $200 as we charge minor hockey, and we can have a member there a staff member there every 50 minutes to squeegee off the courts if that's what is the interest. I think what we've presented is a fair, is a open dialogue with the group, explaining our rationale. I think that we've been as honest and upfront with what services we will provide within the court fee that we are presenting to council for their consideration tonight. And if the tennis club wants to look at us doing additional maintenance or what have you, I have no problem bringing those fees, those costs to perform those fees back to council to adjust the yearly membership court fee that is presented for your consideration tonight.
Okay, Councillor Sidney.
Thank you. Okay, so I know there's been a lot of, seems to be confusion and stuff, and I hope I'm not speaking out of turn towards Director Hill, because when I hear this, so just to back up a little bit, every sports group that utilizes the rec center pays an hourly rate. It is totally financially impossible to expect the tennis club to pay an hourly rate based on the amount of hours you use in the summer. It's just not realistic. So what we did is we came up with like that court fee. But in doing that, we are assuming all of the expenses. Now, the one thing that I just want to clarify is if there is a crack in that court, that is, in my opinion, and this is where I hope I'm not speaking out of turn here, that is resurfacing as needed. Squeegeeing the court every 50 minutes because it's raining is not. But the actual resurfacing as needed will fill in a crack. We're not expecting the tennis club to do that. But if I'm wrong, I apologize. But I want to be very clear. Everybody that you like, ringette pays by the hour. Figure skating pays by the hour. Soccer plays by the hour. Baseball plays by the hour. Hockey plays by the hour. Men's beer league plays by the hour. All of these things play by the hour. It's not realistic to expect the tennis club to pay by the hour, but it is realistic to expect the people that want to play tennis in the town of Renfrew on municipally owned property to pay something. That's what this is about. This isn't about trying to upset somebody else and somebody else. It's about being equal to everybody. And I don't see how there's no family rate for hockey. I had kids go through hockey. It cost me, for one kid, it cost me the same for the other kid, depending on the age. It might be different. I know for a fact that a family that has somebody in figure skating and somebody that's in hockey, like they have a child in figure skating, a child in hockey, and a child in bantam hockey, and a parent that plays in beer league, don't get a family rate. That's not how it works. So what we're trying to do is try to be as fair as possible, but as transparent and respectful to every taxpayer in this town. So I just want to make sure that I hope that we're not, and again, this might be something that we'll bring up at rec, but in my knowledge, I wasn't expecting the tennis club to have to fill in a crack, because that to me is resurfacing as needed. But if you need the other stuff, yeah, it's a thing. But keep in mind, this is a one-time payment per year of anywhere between $15 to $75 once a year per person. I went and walked out of No Frills today with 4 grocery bags and it cost me $98. So I like let's just be realistic here. It's a $600 million or a $600,000 adding 2 courts expansion to an expanded facility that is treated top notch. We are well respected across the province as one of the best recreation facilities on the planet. And as chair of recreation since 2014, I expect that of the rec staff. So when we move forward and build these new 6 beautiful courts with 6 beautiful courts lit, which also adds, I think it's an additional 12 lights or something like that, we're going to assume the cost and work with the tennis club. But it's not going to be the way it's been. And I'm sorry, change is difficult, and change apparently is very difficult in this town. We need to move forward. We are expanding a facility with funds that we got from the federal provincial government that is going to make us pretty much nationally renowned. I think we should all let's all play nice in the sandbox, move forward, move tennis forward. It seems like there's a lot of opportunity to increase the sport. Pickleball is interested. That might increase. Again, when we're getting fed, our mission statement by a group, and this is what it's supposed to be, you're right. It is affordable recreation for all, which includes pickleball, which includes other court sports on a court facility, not just tennis. So I have to commend the rec staff for as much time as they put into this. But at the end of the day, it's moving forward and it's working together and being transparent. We don't want to charge the tennis club an hourly rate because that's just ridiculously amount of money. So we figured out a way for one adult to pay $70 once for 365 days a year. What they do after that, if they want to join the tennis club and do the great programmings that they do and participate in the great banquets and the tournaments and all that stuff, that's great. But I have one question to ask the mayor. Sorry to call you out, sir.
That's fine.
I know you love golf and I know you're a member of a golf club, right?
I am, yes.
When you play in a golf tournament, do you get to play for free because you're a member?
Most of the time I do, yes.
Okay. But sometimes you don't.
It all depends on the tournament.
Right. So that is an extra piece. So if you want to participate in something, sometimes there's going to be an extra cost. It doesn't involve your membership, but maybe it will. These are those things that they need to sit down and talk about. What is the tennis club wanting as far as time goes? And I think we can work that out. We're talking about $15 a year for a junior. We're not talking about $15 an hour for 3,000 hours. So I think we just need to be clear on this. So I appreciate the amount of work that's gone in. I appreciate the passion of the tennis club. I've been to a number of tennis club events. I think they're fantastic. But at the end of the day, it can't be on municipal property with only paying $1,700 a year in hydro. Because I'm pretty sure any minor hockey team would love to pay $1,500 a year for hydro. Like, that's just, it's not going to work that way. It has to be equal and transparent. And this is what we're trying to do. So that's my piece. Thank you.
Okay. I do have a question, Kevin. I'm sorry, Director Hill. I'm a little confused. I thought that the court fees, anybody other than a member of the club, anybody other than a member club just paid court fees. In other words, $8 an hour. But you're saying, and this is the first time that I must have missed some words, but you're saying that you could take an intermediate, say 15 years old, and he can give you $35 and he can play 200 times a year.
That is correct.
That's correct.
That is correct.
I wasn't.
I use the example of the individual in our offices. Mr. Wall played, like Jordan played 200 times last year.
But he's a member.
Correct, and paid his $85.
So if he wasn't a member and he didn't want to be a member next year, he can pay $70 and play as often as he can get on the court.
Correct.
Okay, I just can't quite agree with that because I can see half the tennis club saying, I'm not going to join, I'm just going to play.
Thank you.
Yes.
You know, that's, to me, that's the way I see it. Anyway, I was fully understanding that if I went there as an individual and I wanted to play 10 times, I would pay the court fee 10 times, but obviously that's not the fact. Anyway, is there any other questions or comments?
Mayor, 80 again with council's indulgence. I think the club had one final comment or question.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead.
Mayor Donidi, my opinion or I guess my take on it was that yes, the tennis, we were going to pay extra fees, but that those fees would be rolled into the tennis club and then we could charge what we want. It wasn't the last time that we went to this meeting, it was understood that there would be one fee charged. Part of that, whatever they've said here, the $6.15 or $35 or $70 would go to the town and the rest would go to the tennis club. And now this is a brand new proposal where you're saying, no, you pay one fee to the town, you pay one fee to the tennis club, and basically you don't have to belong to the tennis club to use the courts. So that, certainly that's going to eat into our thing. And yes, we do maintain the courts. Yes, it is necessary to fill the cracks, and that is not considered court resurfacing, and I don't think Kevin ever considered it court resurfacing. Court resurfacing is something that was done every 12 or 15 years, maybe. But the maintenance is what we have been doing for 40 years to keep our courts in operating condition by our court managers and by our volunteer members. So that is something that the court that our club has always looked after, along with all the other things that we do to maintain the courts. So you are, to me, it seems that you are using the volunteer work that we put into keeping these courts running, and then you're going to say, but anybody can go to them and not become a member and pay for 200 hours or 200, however many times they want to play over the course of a year, but they don't have to contribute anything. And that to me is very different from what you told us and what you gave us to understand at our last October 4th meeting and anywhere, any of the negotiations that we have had with you over the course of this whole summer. That's a brand new ball game that you're offering.
And I would like to say, I agree with Mayor Eady that that will cut into the tennis club because people will say, well, for $70, I don't have to join the tennis club. And, you know, the idea of this whole thing is to grow the tennis club by doing the 6 courts. This is not going to grow the tennis club. This is going to hurt the tennis club tremendously. I just want to get back to the family again. Sorry to bother you about that, but we have 37 families registered. I don't think there's 37 families where mom and dad and kids are playing hockey or baseball. We are unique in that sport. So you really need to look at that because families will be unaffordable to play tennis for families if you don't have a family rate. We developed the family rate over 40 years of experience where that's something that evolved. So what we did is we said for 2 adults, okay, a family can play. And that gives family affordable tennis. And I hope that's your mission to provide affordable recreation for the town of Renfrew. So again, you're making it unaffordable.
Okay.
Every club has a family rate, by the way, if you look at the comparison to other communities. So you're getting some expert advice here.
Thank you very much. Councillor Sedney.
Okay, so first of all, I think there has been some confusion here. I wonder if, as Chair of Recreation, if we do this. The Cultural Center is going on the site of where the tennis courts are. We need to start that process now. So if the council votes tonight to go ahead and start to do that, the rec committee will hold an emergency meeting to clarify all of this, bring it back to whether we do a special meeting of council or whatever to get the ball rolling, to clarify everybody, because everybody seems to be confused and we're spending like hours on this. But I just want to make one thing clear. As chair of recreation since 2014, my goal is not to improve a club. My goal is to improve recreation. So these courts are not here to improve the tennis club. These courts are here to improve tennis. So if we can try to figure out how that works, because I think the idea is, you know, whether it's the $75 you pay for whatever, or it's $75 and you become a member and you play whenever. I think that's the clarity that needs to be done. And I think the resurfacing needs to be clarified, because again, I said I totally misunderstood that. I thought resurfacing would be whatever. So there is some clarity that needs to be done. I would like to move forward with, we need to start the process. If the tennis club wants to be able to play tennis by June of next year, we have to start now. So if we do that, table the other stuff, we'll hold an emergency council or recreation meeting to clarify this with Director Hill. And then we'll maybe, if need be, have an emergency council meeting if it's time sensitive. But I want to be very clear. The town of Renfrew is not here to increase and improve a club specifically. We are here to increase recreation for all. So if that's the case, we need to figure it out. So if we can maybe look at it that way, that might be a better way to do it, because there's a lot of things in this motion that maybe need to be separate.
So you're suggesting you would like to amend that motion to say that on the part that says further that Renfrew Town Council approve the court membership fees and hourly rate charged as presented in this report, you'd like to have that scratched until we have a meeting, but go ahead with everything else.
There seems to be too much confusion, and I think there needs to be a little bit more clarity on that. And I think we're all of that. So yeah, I think we just need to move forward with begin construction and demolition of it and give the fence to Horton and that part. And then the fee part needs to come back.
You're suggesting that we delete that sentence and we have special meetings to deal with that?
Yes, except Reeve had his hand up and he might have a different way to word it.
Okay.
But yes, that's what I'm saying.
Sorry, Director Hill was before, and then
sorry,
Reeve Emo, and then we're going to have to start dealing with this and get this moving along here, because it's going on and on and on. We've been well over an hour on it now. So, Director Hill,
An hour.
an hour and a half maybe.
I've only been dealing with it since August.
Yeah. Well, anyways,
And I would like to clarify the comments made by the club. In 1992, there was a family membership charged by the tennis club. In 1992, there was not an adult fee charged by the tennis club. So we talk about evolving. There was a junior membership fee of $15 in 1992. There was an intermediate fee of $35 charged in 1992, and a senior rate of $55 charged in 1992, and a family rate of $100 charged in 1992. We don't offer family rates for any other facility. I feel that the lowering of the fees of $15 is what is affordable. The impact of that reduction is about $2,500 from what was presented to the rec committee. We can meet 15 more times. We can meet 20 more times. It's not going to change where we are or where we're going with the difference of opinion between having to charge a fee or not having to charge a fee. And I'm quite willing to meet as often and as frequent as we like, but at the end of the day, we have to move forward. We have to make a decision, and that decision is, I don't know any more information that I can provide to council more than I have presented tonight. So if council wishes to separate out that portion of the motion, I don't know what else I can provide or add to the discussion or the documentation that is going to alter or change anyone's mind or opinion on a fee structure for us to be able to tell the public, you must be a member of the tennis club or you can't utilize the facility, would be like me telling everybody entering Mattaway Activity Center, you must be on minor hockey or figure skating or ringette, or you can't come in the building. They're public facilities. They should be available to use by all, whether someone chooses to be a member of a club or just play at their leisure, should be that decision of that individual. No different than anybody going to play a round of golf. If they want to play a round of golf and join the men's league and join the Saturday mornings league, they can do that. If they wish to just go and play with a few buddies, they can do that. If we put more restrictions on people about how they can play, when they can play, who they can play with, I think it will affect our vision and mission statement. And that is to provide recreation at low cost for our community residents. I don't think we should be dictating to people that you must be a member of the tennis club, or you must be a member of the pickleball club, or you must be a member of the soccer club to participate on a facility at Mattaway. I'm sorry, I don't support that, but if that's the direction that council wishes to have a special meeting to discuss, we can discuss it. I take direction from council and we'll go from there.
Councillor Sedney.
So just to be clear, I agree 100% with Director Hill. My point about breaking it down and getting clarification is literally the resurfacing. All right, if there's a big crack that goes down the middle of the ice, we don't expect minor hockey to fix it. So that's that. As far as everything else goes, as Chair of Rec, Director Hill's report that comes to council, we approve to send it to council by the committee. I agree 100%. But if we're going to agree on something and that's in there, I just want to be clear on that resurfacing thing, because it was my understanding that there wouldn't be a cost to repair an actual infrastructure piece of equipment. So if I'm wrong on that one, that's the only clarification I wanted before we pass this. But everything that Director Hill has said, I agree 100%. That is what the committee sent forward. So if maybe we could just clarify the resurfacing piece, because I thought we were taking on all expenses other than like the squeaking if it rains or whatever, like that kind of stuff. Like I don't think we're gonna have staff out there all the time, but that infrastructure piece.
Let me back up for a second here. Make sure we got this right. You said a moment ago that you'd like to have the fee part of it taken out of tonight's motion. Is that still true?
The reason I said that is because the fee part includes what the tennis club would have to pay for and what we would have to pay for. And that was the only reason. I agree with the fee structure. I just want to make sure that I understand. I thought resurfacing was if there was a crack, that's a resurfacing thing. I'm not a tennis player, so that's if there's a surface broken and a crack goes down the middle or the concrete breaks underneath the ice at Mattaway, we're not expecting minor hockey to fix it. That's the only clarification I needed, Kevin, sorry. But other than that, I agree with everything else.
Okay. Director Hill, the last part of the agreement says a revised service agreement with the Renfrew Tennis Club be presented to council prior to the end of the year. Can then issues be addressed at that within that agreement?
Absolutely.
So that would take care of that?
I think there's a number of issues that will be addressed through that service agreement. Just in some of the comments that we've had throughout our discussions or negotiations and other comments that are made, there's many points of clarification that have to be addressed through the service agreement. As has been stated at Rec Committee, that we can provide whatever level of service is requested to maintain our facilities. I find it quite offensive that someone would think that we would let a facility become in disrepair when owned by the town. I think we pride ourselves on maintaining our facilities that we own and operate, and we will do the exact same for the tennis club. It's not like we're going to build them and turn our backs and say, have fun. It's going in a new direction. I know it's changed. We will be charging a court fee, and in exchange for that, we will be providing services. Somewhat offended that the comments are made that the tennis club does this all on their own, because I know the number of hours that we've sent staff over to help Gary with crack filling, but I won't bring that up, but I did bring it up because I do find it offensive. So we do help, we do assist, we do as requested by the tennis club and have for the 8 years that I've been here, and I don't believe it's changed any differently since I arrived, but I believe that when requested, the staff have helped in the past with any group or organization that requires our assistance. What it will affect is the annual costs, and that's what we'll have to address on an annual basis when we do our fees for services, because we will provide a detailed budget of what we spend on an annual basis, and the council will set the fees for services based on the fees for services that are being provided.
Okay, I think we've discussed this plenty enough. I'll give Councillor Hines one chance. Is there anybody else who wants to have one last comment? Because I'm going to call for a vote here any second.
I'm sorry, I just need to know that the two people that sit on recreation, Councillor Sidney, yourself, your Mayor Edie, we haven't heard from Councillor Koulis, but the two of you were a bit confused with what was said here, as I am as a council member just reading this for the first time when I get my agenda. So I appreciate what Councillor Sidney said. He wants to make it work, and I think to have that clarification is really important. So basically, there are 5 points here, or 5 motions, 5 parts of the motion. I would say that we can get on with motion number 1, 3, and 4, and as far as 2 and 5, that's not going to affect one way or the other the demolition of the courts. That's a given. That before we even started to discuss that, that's where it was at. So, I mean, there was a last 11th hour attempt, and that's where we stand right now. And I think you're very right. It's time to call for the vote. But if you were to leave both of those out, I don't know that you have to have an emergency meeting about it. I think that a lot of time has been spent by the committee and by the director and by the tennis club on that. And I just think that it's time to maybe go with what the chair of the committee says, get that clarified, and then get it back to the table. But we can go ahead and vote on the other stuff. And just as a point of a clarification, Director Hill, you did offer, if at any time we needed help, that you could come in and help with the cracks. And we did take you up on that, and you did clean the courts because the pigeons had been there for a bit. And much appreciated, but it wasn't every week or every day.
Thank you.
Okay, Councillor Sidney.
Okay, so when I said clarification on the confusion part, I'm not going to change my mind on the fee part. What I'm going to not change my mind on, I just want to make sure that when Director Hill said that, like, that was my expectation when we talked about taking over the maintenance, we would never allow a crack to sit unused. That's just not happening. That would never happen. The way, if you see the way Mattaway is today, it is the envy of so many municipalities because of the care and quality that is in there, the expectations of Director Hill and his employees, the expectation of the committee for years, even before me. The fee thing is not going to change for me. The only thing I want to be clear on is, what are we expecting us to do? And that was the only clarification, is because I expect us to fill a crack. If that's what we need to do, that's fine. I'm not going to change my mind on the fee structure, the way it goes, the way it is. That is what it is in my mind. So that's how I see it. So that's all I'm going to say about that. It's just literally.
Wouldn't that be what you get for that fee?
Oh, let's not. Okay.
No.
Revimo, did you have one last comment?
Yeah, I was gonna make a motion that we table this until Monday of next week and try and get some clarity, because right now, if somebody asked me what it was gonna cost to play tennis, I couldn't tell you. It's been around, we've walked all over this. So I've managed to circle the second fee schedule and the $8 an hour. I still don't get what the total package would be, because we don't have an understanding of what the tennis club might add to it, not being dismissive. And then we have some questions about what it means. I get that there are 10 to 12,000 court hours per year. I'm guessing that also doesn't factor in, there's going to be 2 additional courts. What does that mean? So I really think that there's enough serious questions that we should stand this down and try and get some more comprehensive information.
Okay.
That's where I'm at right now. Thank you.
Councillor Hines had made a suggestion, and that we go ahead with 3 parts of this, which and in order to get this thing really rolling, I think we gotta start getting rid of the courts and have it torn down and get ready to build the new one. So if we took out them 2 parts about the fees and for service agreement, would you second that type of motion?
So, just to interject, Mary,
Sorry, were you speaking to me?
Okay, let's go back.
Oh, man.
Clerk Bowler, you step in here, please.
yeah, so we do have a mover and a seconder of the primary motion already. So I would
Right.
suggest that perhaps we just go to Councillor Jemison as mover, Councillor Sidney as the seconder, and see if they'd like to amend the motion, again, to address, in my mind, address the first, the third, fourth directives, and that the second and fifth directives, that's pertaining to the matters of court membership, fees, hourly rates, and revised service agreement, that they be tabled for future discussion and be brought back to the council table for consideration.
Okay. Councillor Jamison?
Okay, so no, I am not going to move that. I'm not in favor of that, so you'll have to find another mover.
Okay. Councillor Sidney, you comments?
I think for the sake of making sure we're all clear and transparent and everybody understands everything, I would like to get moving forward with the demolition of the courts. As far as who's paying what and when, you guys aren't going to be playing tennis until next year. So if we can get rid of the courts now to move forward with the expansion and meet, like Revimo said, on Monday, and everybody gets clear, because it seems like there's a lot of people that are not clear on certain things, I'm okay with that. But I just need to make sure, as Chair of Recreation, that the rec department is moving forward with the expansion now, because it's time sensitive, it's money sensitive, it's weather sensitive, and it needs to start. So if we can start that ball rolling and meet Monday or whatever on the rest of it, so that everybody has time to get clarity. I have clarity, I get that. It's that resurfacing thing that the only thing I was whatever. But yeah, if I will ask to have it amended and move forward.
Okay. So Clerk Bomer, we have a motion on the table. We need a seconder for that motion, I presume?
Yes, we do have a suggested amendment. We do have the mover that has chose not to move. So we would need someone else to move that motion, seconded by Councillor Sidney.
Okay, anybody else want to second that motion? Councillor Hines seconded. Discussion on
Worship, I'll
that?
second it to get it on the floor. Not that I'm in favor.
So you're not in favor, you just said you'd like to take out number 2 and number 5, and now you're against it?
No, I'm not against reconsidering those 2 things, but when we vote on it,
That's the motion.
as I mentioned before, I'm not totally in favor of demolishing the courts, but that's the way it is. I know that that's the way it's going to transpire out, but I want to be recorded on the public record that I am not in favor of demolishing the courts, spending $600,000 to build new courts that we don't have $600,000 that we found somewhere. That's my point. But I'm moving it to get it on the floor. You don't have to be in favor of it to move it.
Okay, okay, no, that's fine, that's fine. Any further comments? Okay, I guess we call for a vote on the amendment then. All in favor of the amendment?
If for clarity,
I had previously asked for a point of order. I had previously asked for a recorded vote on this. I'm sorry.
I just wanted to suggest, just for clarity, that I'll read what I determined the new amended motion to be. So it'll be moved by Councillor Hines, seconded by Councillor Sidney, that Renfrew Town Council authorizes staff to commence construction of 6 new courts, utilizing quality contractors can ensure completion prior to June 21st, 2022. And further, that Renfrew Town Council authorizes staff to commence demolition of the existing courts immediately. And further, that the court facility fencing be deemed surplus and allow Horton Township to remove it at their own expense for use at their outdoor rink. And further, that the matters of court membership fees and hourly rates, in addition to revised service agreement with the Renfrew Tennis Club, be tabled to a later date and to be brought back to Town Council at a future meeting for consideration.
Okay. So I do believe the motion was made by Councillor Sidney and seconded by Councillor Hines. I think you said Councillor Hines and Councillor Sidney. So we do have that motion on the table, and we ask for, again, before we go to the vote, is there any more discussion on this? Revimo.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, but I just have one more
Oh, I'm sorry,
request.
Revimo's
Well,
on the floor now.
am I
And
speaking?
you- Okay.
Sorry,
Revimo.
Your Worship, I have to.
So, thank you. Unfortunately, I'm going to have to vote against this, as I think there's enough confusion, and also,
I was asking for a recorded vote, and if this goes through, then I would be looking to ask the director for at least 2 days for us to remove the benches, the shed that's on the court, and all of the signs that we would use on our new courts.
Okay.
This is so
Okay.
bad, doing it this
This
way.
automation stuff is not called cracked up to what it should be. Revimo, you had something you want to say?
Oh, God.
thank you. I was just going to say that unfortunately, I'm going to have to vote against this because I think there's enough confusion, and I'm worried about there seems to be an inkling of mistrust or different understandings between both parties, and I think by moving hastily, and I recognize we have to move quickly, isn't going to make the situation any better. And so I, as I said before, I would have preferred to set it aside for 2 or 3 days and try and get some clarity. But based on that we're going to have the vote, I'll be voting against it. Thank you.
Okay. We have a mover, we have a seconder. We've had some discussion. Is there any further discussion? Councillor Sidney.
All right, so this is turning into a nightmare. So is it better then to, and I'm going to ask Clerk Ballmer, how quickly can we hold another meeting where everybody can get on the same page of understanding, where we do it above board and properly? Because I would suggest that we do that. Table it, as Revimo said, but as quickly as possible, get back to an emergency council meeting to deal with this issue so that it can move forward and everybody has clarity. Because I don't want to make this look untransparent. I want to make sure every council member has their understanding of it and it's the way it goes. So how quickly can we do that?
So you need 48 clear hours of notice for both the committee and then subsequently for council. I'm not a big proponent of special council meetings if not necessary. We do have one scheduled in 2 weeks. The earliest you could have a committee meeting would probably be on Friday. The earliest then you could have a council meeting would be subsequently probably next Tuesday evening.
So would I don't know if I'm even allowed to ask this, but would council be okay with that? And would the committee be okay with meeting on Friday? And then I
Council
would-
members, what do you want? Revimo stated his stand on it. Councillor Cindy's made another suggestion now, and so here we are. Councillor Jamison says she doesn't want to move ahead with it. So here we are. It's getting confusing for sure, and so Councillor Jamison.
Okay, I was not in favor of moving the motion with those 2 or 3 statements pulled out of there. I wanted to complete it all so that we could get this moving, because there's a lot of things like the unclarity of the rates and all of that. That can be done, that can be filtered through as we move forward so that we can actually get the start demolishing the tennis courts. That's what I moved, that we were going to complete it, pass the motion or drop the motion, whatever, but we were going to make a decision. That's why I pulled my name off of it.
Okay. So where do we go from here, Clerk Wilmer? Do we have to have a motion to table this, or what do we want to do?
Well, right now we have a motion on the floor from Councillor Sidney and Councillor Hines. That's the only motion that I have on the floor. It needs to be voted on, or those mover and seconder have to withdraw the motion, and someone has to come up with another form of direction. So right now, a motion as read is on the floor. We can vote on it, or the mover and seconder can pull their name, and someone else can bring forth a motion, as long as they have a seconder, and it's, well, we have to go to the floor with something.
Councillor Sidney, you made the motion, and it was seconded by Councillor Hines. Where do you want to go with it?
All right, so here's what I recommend, or this is what I'm going to say. I would like to remove my thing. I'd like to motion to table it until next Tuesday for a special council meeting, and ask the rec committee if they're able to meet on Friday.
Councillor Hines?
Yes, I'm fine with that.
Okay. So we don't need to really have a vote on the motion then, or do we want to have the vote on the motion and then we'll go to the next motion?
I would suggest we do a motion anyway. I would suggest that the recommendations contained within Director Hill's report dated October 8th, 2021 concerning new court construction, proposed fees and demolition of existing courts be tabled until such time as the Recreation Committee can meet and forward their recommendations to Council.
Okay, we have a mover and a seconder on that. Any more discussion? I thought we were going to go to a vote on this. Revimo?
I'm sorry, I had the impression that motion had been, the other motion had been withdrawn, and then we were looking at a new motion to table until such times we get together, is how I understood it.
That's correct.
Everything's been withdrawn, and it's the motion now is to table it till next Tuesday.
So I'm quite content to move that. Thank you.
Okay. Second?
Okay. Go ahead, Tom. I was
Okay.
putting my hand up to second it. I didn't want to talk.
Okay, I think it's been moved by Revimo and seconded by Councillor Sidney. Any more discussion? Okay. You want a recorded vote on this too? All in favor?
Yes.
You want a recorded vote?
Okay, I heard.
Sorry that when the microphone, I have to switch off here all the time, so it's a little delayed. Sorry, technical. I want a recorded vote.
Okay, so we've had a recorded vote requested for the motion as I've read that the recommendations contained within Director Hill's report dated October 8th, 2021 concerning new court construction, proposed fees and demolition of existing courts be tabled until such time as the Recreation Committee can meet and to forward their recommendations to Town Council for its consideration. That was moved by Revimo, seconded by Councillor Sidney. I'll read the division vote. Revimo,
Yes.
Councillor Koulis,
Yes.
Councillor Evans,
Favor.
Councillor Hines,
In favor?
Councillor Jemison,
Favor.
Councillor Sidney,
In favor.
Mayor Eady.
Well, I'll vote in favor because everybody else has and be defeated, but I would have liked to, with all the work that's been into this, I would have liked to see this handled tonight, but I'll vote in favor.
Okay, motion is carried.
Okay. Okay, that's over. Next motion, that the minutes of the Waste Management Committee meeting held September 13, 2021 be received. Mover, please. Councillor Evans, seconded by Rebemo. Turn over to Rebemo for report.
My apologies. I'd lost my minutes in the piles of paper I was shuffling around writing notes on.
You're so close to the thing, I can't see your hand going up. I can only see the bottom part of your face. Sorry.
Okay, thank you. No problem. It's my fault. So with that, I can report to Mayor and Council that on Monday, September 13th, our Waste Management Committee meeting was held. It was an electronic meeting. I will take you to page 2, 8.1. Our tonnage. Our tonnage is up a little bit from last year and up. It's pretty much in line with previous years if you factor out COVID's influence last year. And I should note that to date, under household hazardous waste, 13,000 liters of oil and 6 lab pack loads of hazardous waste was picked up by Drainall at that time. So it's closed down and all the materials have been shipped out. And then 8.1.2, the final regulation for hazardous and special products will take effect on October 1. So it'll be under the producer responsibility framework. 8.2, blue box transition, it's moving forward and we're still trying to get more information on a regular basis. And with that, I'll take you to page 3, which is 9.3, the waste management bylaw. The draft management bylaw will be sent to council for adoption pending the clerk's department final review. So we've worked our way through it. There's some new definitions and some new regulations in it as well. We think you'll be pleased when you see it. It'll be a lengthy read, but it should cover off our existing or our present situation with waste management. 9.5, our 2021 priorities review. We have spent a great deal of time talking about this, and we felt at this time it's unlikely that the reuse center would move forward. There are 2 very well accessed and easily accessed centers on Raglan Street now that take a lot of goods and are resold for and benefit various community charities. And we've noticed that there's not as many useful things going into the landfill as in the past, and at this point it would be either cost prohibitive or not a very good value for our dollars to invest in a reuse center. And then we are in the process of looking at a grinding on 4.4. On page 4, we're looking at the grinding contract, and we're also looking at the garbage collection contract, likely to consult with our other 2 partners and get back to council by the end of this year, early next year, with a recommendation about extending it. And 9.6.1, our financial update. Revenue is projected to have a shortfall of about 50,000 from the amount budgeted. And we're hopeful that increased activity at the landfill could offset the deficit. And we've started our budget considerations. That's what, with that, I respectfully submit that to Mayor and Council.
Any questions? Hearing none, all in favor? Carried. The minutes of the Renfrew Police Services Board meeting held July the 7th, 2021 be received. Mover, please. Councillor Evans, second by Councillor Hines. I'll turn it over to Councillor Evans for the report. You left that meeting.
Thank you. And to council, at the beginning, these are minutes that were recorded back in July. I will make a special request to the chair to update our council for months of August, September, and perhaps even October. Correspondence yet were received regarding speed issues on Hall Avenue, and a recommendation from the correspondent was made. We would investigate that and dictate hours towards a fix. A financial report was given, and unfortunately the situational table has a limited budget at that time and may be running out of funding before year end. This initiative for the situational table was a pilot project by the province and championed by the detachment commander Colin Slate back in 2018 at the time. He believed it had incredible merit and incredible value for not only the community, but for all members involved. The detachment commander's report, again, calls for service this particular month. We're down by 550 hours due to, at that time during our, was reasons of COVID. It seemed to put a quash on a lot of aggravated activities within, or crimes within the town. Again, the other business or discussion was the police board proposal process of the municipalities. Sorry, I should start again. The OPP detachment board proposal process. This was something that's still ongoing with our board. It's actually getting rather arduous. We will be looking to request support from other municipalities, but it doesn't really, at my opinion right now, it doesn't seem to have an awful lot of strength or organization within the other municipalities that we're surrounded or asking for group support. We quickly adjourned at 8 o'clock that evening. Thank you.
Questions? Hearing none, all in favor? Carried. Thank you. Okay. Okay. Next motion. And maybe when we do this, we can go in and take a 5-minute recess if we wish. The Renfrew Town Council convened in closed session to pass closed session minutes after the following matters pursuant to Section 239 Municipal Act 2001. Pursuant to Section 239(2)(e) Municipal Act 2001, litigation and potential litigation, including matters before administrative tribunals affecting municipality or board, more specifically as relates to the management of the Innovation Center at the Renfrew Industrial Commission. Pursuant to Section 239(2)(b) Municipal Act 2001, personal matters with an identifiable individual, including municipal or local board employees, more specifically as it relates to the municipal structure review. Mover, please. Yeah, Councillor Kula, second by Councillor Hines. We are now in closed session. We want to take a couple minutes.
Your worship?
Yes.
I just have 2 items under new and unfinished business that, since we're live streaming, I would like the public to know that. I could be very quick about it. We dismissed that.
I'm sorry.
We're sorry to throw a wrench into things, but we are in closed session already now, so we're stopping the live stream, and it'll have to wait, unfortunately.
Sorry about that. I'm sorry I messed with it.
It's okay, it's
Anyway.
happening on Thursday, so no problem. It's the museum. They asked me to announce it, but that's fine.
Okay.
This is bad.
We want to take 5 minutes. I'm having a yes there, at least one
Yes.
yes. We'll take 5 minutes. We'll be back at 10:05 promptly.